What an amazing conversation. Coming on next, we have on our panel by Rug Radio with speakers Sam Spratt, Benny Redbeard, and Snowfro. Give it up to them.
Have no place to go. Have no place to go. Darling, have no place to go. Have no place to go. Goodbye, baby. Yes, I'm going. Yes, I'm going. Goodbye, baby. Yes, I'm going. Yes, I'm going.
I'll fill it. Oh, we started. Thank you, everybody, for coming to this wonderful little talk we're going to have. Shout out to Rug Radio, who put this panel together, right? First off, I just wanted to give a present to Eric. So, Eric's favorite candy is the Twin Snakes, so I just wanted to make sure he had something to eat while we spoke.
Help me eat them later, please, because I'll eat the whole bag.
Yeah, you give them out to everybody.
Yeah.
We can leave them up here.
Thank you, Ben.
I will. So how do you want to do this? You want to? I'll introduce. You'll introduce, and you'll introduce. I'm going to introduce Eric. So I'm going to introduce Eric Snowfro. For anybody who doesn't know who he is, he created something called Art Blocks and Squiggles. And fun fact, though, he also created snow cones in college, and that's how he got his name. And he is a legend in this space and a builder, and somebody who is very special and dear to everybody in here and our hearts.
Thank you, Benny.
Thank you.
Am I introducing you or Sam?
I'd like to introduce Benny.
Okay, you introduce Sam.
Well, thanks everybody for coming. I'd like to introduce you to the one and only Sam Spratt, the creator of Lucy. How many chapters? How many? 5 in. Someone I've gotten to know just over the year and a half, maybe, Benny and Sam, and very special people in this space, people that have had a significant influence in how we navigate over the last year and a half. For people that have been around for a while, you know, it's kind of a tough space to navigate. There's like some really high highs, and so there's some pretty low lows, and being able to share that with these two gentlemen has been really special. But I think one of the greatest artists of the digital art times, and it's a pleasure to be up here on stage with you.
Thank you, brother. Benny over here, Benny Redbeard Gross, is I think one of the more legendary characters in our space. He is beloved. He is the friend of many, many people, artists, collectors, whether they are just starting out on their journey or have come quite a good ways along. One of the most special things about this man is that he is pretty agnostic of what sectors of the casino, the fine art, the generative bits of this that our space comprises. And he will go down into each and every one of them, and he is a deeply, deeply curious little man. And he will get to know every little character inside it, and his superpower is that he will find something special, no matter how demonic of a place it might feel, and he will find the best bits of it and link them to each other so that the collision that is all of this happens faster and better.
So let's talk about that, because we are in the Devil's Casino, which is the name of our panel. Shocked that they let us do that.
Did it make it? Did it say hell?
Yeah, it's up there. See, Devil's Casino.
Oh, but the hell part's not there.
It's a tough world right now in the digital art market. But I wanted to talk to and ask you guys, I'm just going to go straight into it. I'm going to ask you guys some tough questions. So, to be honest, while you guys might not want to hear it, you're both important people in this space, what you're doing now and what you're going to do in the future. I would ask both of you, the pressure knowing about how special and how meaningful you could create history right now and what that does for you, how does that affect you every day? How does that affect your work going into this? And I know you're both going to say, well, I'm not that important, whatever, but we all know that you are.
Can I go first? For people that know me, especially people that I work with, if any of y'all are in the audience, you know that I have a strong desire to please people. I think just in the last couple of years, I've gotten the really harsh reality that it is impossible to please everybody. In my life up until this, I was in the ceramic tile business. I felt like I was able to please like 98% of my customers. And today, I continue that pursuit, and it's hard, and it gets harder and harder. Sometimes we go through bull runs, and the inability to please people is based on X, and sometimes we go through bear markets, and the inability to please people is based on Y. But I think that's the hardest part, at least for me, is just kind of acknowledging that that I may not be able to please everybody all the time, but also trying to find a way to please as many people as possible, which involves being empathetic and trying to put yourself into people's shoes and understand why everybody's here. Like you said, some people are here for a casino. I got a chance to speak earlier. Some people are here for a casino. Some people are here to collect fine art. Some people started in the casino and ended up in the fine art. Some people might have started in fine art and end up in the casino. Like, we don't know. And just trying to put ourselves in everybody's feet, in everybody's shoes, and understand how we can please as many people as possible, because we need to make this a positive space if we want more people to come in. So I don't know. That's my ramble.
Coming into all of this, I had a background mostly in commercial art. And so I had stacked up about 10 years of life, slowly working my way up, almost entirely based on monetary metrics. That very first $20 job I had was life-changing. It was the most grateful thing in the world, because someone was paying me to paint a picture, and then a 200 one, and 500. And as you stack those and they multiply, the metric of the money of it all over time actually became to be the least interesting thing about all of it. In fact, the thing that had cursed me for a good long while into not saying anything myself, but doing a fairly good job at hiding behind the people that I worked with and for. This space collided me with people smarter than me for really the first time in my life, including these two gentlemen. And in that collision of people that know something more than I do about the world, I have been able to take what for me was a weight of kind of loving and hating myself simultaneously all the time, and being in an infinite game of killing parts of myself to try to rebuild and become stronger. And instead of that being just I would say a self-flogging exercise, meeting each of you has helped show me both, I would say within Benny, has shown me that I do not need to bear that melodramatic existential weight alone, that there's fun to be had here. And also, there's a lot of people that if you really care about something, that are going to want to help you, so long as you go out and touch. And with Eric, I think one of the things that you have taught me most is, as much as I hold for myself, that by your example of what you've built, you can hold a lot more. And that it's almost the responsibility, if you have been given the grace or gift of people backing and believing in you, collecting your art, putting some weight, no matter how small, in your direction, that you almost owe it to yourself and you owe it to them to honor that gift by holding the mantle of responsibility to grow further.
So with that mantle of responsibility, I'll ask you both, thinking that there's a possibility 30 years from now, you could walk into a college campus and they're going to be talking about your successes with generative art and your success of art, what you've created. How does that make you feel even though it's talking 30 years in the future, with that possibility, with your potential that you have?
Well, this conference has been really great because we've met a lot of children, and these are children that are walking up to me showing me pictures they drew of a squiggle or like their involvement in this ecosystem. I was at a Squiggle DAO event last night, and I realized that one of the early collectors brought his 1-year-old child, and I realized that like in 10 years, maybe half of those people are also going to have their children. So when we talk about 30 years from now, those people are going to be adults, and they're going to have been brought up entirely in this ecosystem because their parents are either collecting or creating art. And I think that's something really exciting. I think it'll be a much easier conversation. I think we'll have learned all of the things to learn, at least for the most part, and we'll be able to cruise in and just kind of share stories, which is what I end up doing with these guys anyways, is because the stories are really so much part of this process and so much of what kind of gets us through this. We reminisce on all the way back to 2017 with early CryptoPunks collectors to early Art Blocks Discord, and then just even what's happened over the last couple of years. And that's what I hope to be talking about in 30 years, is just kind of telling that story in a not feeling so much of the pressure of what's going on right now, but like having gotten past that, maybe spend a few years in politics, I don't know.
I think this space has shown me that I'm a child. Like I barely know anything, and every single person that I meet in this has brought a little extra into me, so that the learning process of all of this, no matter whether or not something is going well or we have a perceived success or win, that in that infinite game, that's not really how any of this is working. It is designed to be treating pretty much all of that birth and decay cycle as a lesson. Take some little bit out of it along the way. So if I were to fast forward 30 years, all I would really be saying is, do not get fixated on the 30-year marker in front of you. That is a massive endeavor of building a tremendous wall, and instead do a single brick really fucking well.
You two can't be any... you asked me 2 questions. I feel that we spend a lot of time in a hot tub together, half naked. You two are similar, but also very, very different in your approaches and your mindsets and a lot of things. Sam, you included a squiggle in Monument Game. If anybody hasn't found it, you should look for it. There's a lot that you grow from each other, even being so different. These pillars in the space and having those conversations. When you guys talk deep and you're one-on-one, where do you guys go to find that connection in what we're all doing here, between the two of you as well?
I don't think we find it. I think we had a number of people around us nudging us in this direction to chat, and the moment we did, the very first conversation that we had, we basically immediately got into, if you were just here for Eric's presentation, he has a rather legendary arc that he has built up in not that long of a time, but even beyond that, the fractal of people that have been able to build their own lives and their own worlds and empires based on your initial creation is rather staggering. And so there is this enormous weight on you. And also, as we get into, let's say, the beginning of another cycle, and you're seeing a lot of changed guards, old founders coming back in, people going to another place, wanting to acquire what you have built, they are likely all wanting some of this magic that you have created over the years, but that you bear it. And in that first conversation, you basically told me that you're like, I have to. Like, I think if I were to part ways with it, all the actual heart that I put into this, I think it would be destroyed. I truly think that as much as there are sacrifices in life, in family, and in friendships along the way, to juggle this many things and have this many people rely in some capacity on you, that you feel prepared for the job.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that first night was really special because I'm sitting here talking to someone that does everything by hand. Even a generative piece of 50 where everything is similar but different, but hand-drawn independently. And, as a creator that had made 10,000 things, and just like the scale difference of what our journey was, but then also found a tremendous amount of similarities in kind of what we were trying to do and what the higher calling was, right? Like, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of reasons to be in this space and they're all valid. But I feel like I walked away from that realizing that even if we can have such completely different practices, we can actually be trying to achieve the same thing. And it's been incredible to watch you achieve that ever since then. I mean, you've gone on to release what I consider to be literally one of the best projects that I've seen in my entire life. As an interactive artwork that has opened up hundreds of people to speak the reality of their lives in an effort to gain one of the most prized possessions in this ecosystem. We came for the flip and stayed for the art, and I just can't explain like a better example. Seeing the people that put their heart out and seeing how they started their journey and where they ended by doing that was just like one of the most incredible things ever. So, I think like my goal is to I do want to impact people. I want to make the world a better place. I know that's a little cheesy, but I also grew up my whole life thinking I would never have the opportunity or the voice to do that. I mean, selling tile is fun and all, but like it's just not this. And being around people that have literally just put everything out there to make the world a better place, to make people be more human, to humanize the madness of what this space is. I just remember that night being like a pretty special night and realizing that whatever you create, wherever you go, it's just gonna be fucking amazing. And I can't wait for whatever comes next.
I got to witness that night, and I think I have a picture somewhere. But talking about relationships, so Dave Krugman introduced me to you, and you start putting these dots together in this community where one person met another person. We all have these very close people in our lives. I know, Pixel Pete, Joey for you. I'm realizing more and more in this community and this digital art renaissance that relationships, and I try to tell this to artists all the time, emerging artists, that in art history, relationships were very cold a lot of times, very transactional, especially with working with galleries and whatnot. But we have this opportunity where it's not just about the art, but it's about the relationships. And I've noticed for the two of you that your personal relationships have made you grow stronger. And I think that's an important message, that probably something that I would love for everybody to hear about.
When I began creating the Monument Game, you, as a dear friend, as a collector, for me was very top of mind because about a year into knowing you, we had a really intense conversation where you basically admitted to me that when you first met me, you saw me mostly as a dollar sign, something you could make money off of.
I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah. You said that out loud.
And the reality is, instead of seeing that as the end of a friendship and something bad or cynical or evil, I realized that the number that had gravitated around me and that was beginning to shift and change was essentially an advertisement. What separates you from many people that stopped there, and what later became the inspiration for the Monument Game, is that you can look at numbers. You can map them out in an elaborate node-based system and tree, a big old spreadsheet, a chaos in the soup of your mind, and it can be a starting point. But you know that behind every single one of those increments, there is something more. And even though I didn't know this at the time, 5 months into knowing you, I invited you to my wedding. You have become a closer friend to me than people that I've known for 20 years longer than you. And when it came to designing something in this space, I had to take that same removal of judgment of something that began from something that felt cynical or felt far away or felt distant or transactional, and realize that it can all start there. That, in fact, none of this would exist without the shit coins as well. That all of the things that people love to target and view as the worst elements of the space, and that it's all about the fine and great high art within it, is that they are all part of the same jungle. And when designing this game, I thought very deeply along the way about our friendship, and that my first judgment of you was also, what does this guy want from me? And what unfolded is probably the person who has helped me more in my life than anyone else I've ever met. And if it can start from something that sounds so manipulative, it sounds so transactional, and yet you can watch actually life unfold and the relationship built around it, and it has nothing to do with that. We are fully untethered from that beginning place. Why not try to make people's first experience with art, to spend the most time maybe they ever did with a painting in the Monument game, begin from a place of wanting to win something?
You nailed it.
All right. It's turning red.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Did you have any questions? Did you want to ask any questions, or you said you had?
No, I mean, I would just add that when we started Art Blocks, there was a lot of reasons why Art Blocks kind of had some initial traction, and part of it was just being part of the community for 3 years prior to that, and weeks would go by on the CryptoPunks Discord without a single message, but we were there, onboarding people, explaining to people why these pixels were worth $20. But what evolved from that is a community that came. Originally, gamers, sneakerheads were kind of our biggest new people into the Art Blocks ecosystem after the punk community that came. And that same trajectory, right? They came with what can you do for me? What's the bottom line? What's the dollars? And a lot of people made a bunch of money. A lot of people lost a bunch of money. But a lot of people stayed. And today, a lot of these people that came from sneaker discords and gamer discords are having maybe some of the strongest commentary on the contemporary art world today. And that is just not something I ever expected. These people have become completely embedded in the world of generative art, in the world of digital art, have refined their commentary, and in the space that we say we need more critique, because we could always use more critique, always asking for external critique. The critique that we have internally now is actually quite powerful and strong. And so watching that trajectory just from initially, a lot of us came here for the shitcoin initially.
I think that
Yeah.
Eric and I actually knew each other. We didn't even know because we had different names back in the shitcoin era. And I guess for me, going through 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, the ups and downs in this space, I mean, it's hard, emotionally and physically, it's draining. I get up every morning. I don't even know. I don't want to get there.
Actually, can we hear your morning routine, Benny? I'm just kind of
Okay,
curious.
so-
Do you take a bath every morning?
Well, I get up. I take naps. I take a lot of naps. I'm a nap person, but it just gives me a lot of energy. I think for my biggest struggle, though, is I wake up every morning, and I'll tell you how I feel about the two of you. So I constantly feel that I'm never good enough. Every morning I wake up, I feel like I'm not doing enough for my family, my wife, my children, my friends, and now with the artists like the two of you and others that I love, I feel like I'm never doing enough for them. But more recently, I feel like I've tapped a little bit into something that I think is very special about this. So, when the two of you look at a blank canvas or a screen or a rock, I see a canvas and I don't see anything. And I'm realizing that this magic that you both have, that so many creators have, is that you see something full. You see it complete. And for the majority of humans on this world, we can't tap into that feeling. And all I want to do is be able to tap into that feeling so that I don't feel every day that I'm not doing enough. And because of two of you, I'm able to feel just a little bit of that. I don't see the canvas full, but I feel this little bit of something that makes me realize that there isn't just a blank canvas in life, and there isn't just a blank computer screen. And I think for the two of you, like for a lot of us that can't be those amazing, brilliant creators, to be able just to tap into that resource just a tiny little bit changes a lot of our lives.
I mean, I think that's pretty beautifully said. I think that you have more than you think you do.
Absolutely.
A lot more. But, and then I don't know, I don't want to speak for Sam, but I wake up daily feeling incredibly inadequate and unable to do all the things that I want to do. So no matter how much of that trajectory you can plan out in advance or not, the imposter syndrome is real. The feelings of, but the opportunity to inspire people to do something makes up for it. And I think that's something that you do. I think that's something that you do very well. And I think that's something that a lot of our Art Blocks artists have done over the years, is they've inspired a bunch of people. And I think that's how we build, is, inspiring people.
We try to.
Benny, you have honestly the same thing that I see in a bunch of artists right now in here that I know I feel like a deep kinship with, because you have a fire and a fervor that drives all actions. It is something deep and guttural and primal, and whether or not it extracts out onto a canvas or a screen is almost entirely irrelevant, because the network that has been built around you, I can go into any room that touches our space, and you have made someone stronger. You have made some person closer to another person. You are an anomaly in the space because there are many traders, there are many passive collectors, there are a few patrons of the arts, but there are very few that treat it quite so removed from the transaction of it all, of find the people with common values, smush them together, try to have them kiss each other, and make something beautiful happen.
Well, with that said, I want to tell both of you that you do help me feel a little bit more complete, and I hope that I help the two of you somehow feel a little bit more complete, not just in the hot tub that represents the womb that we won't go into right
It
now,
represents the womb to you,
But-
buddy. It's not to everybody here.
but really,
We're just in a jacuzzi.
okay,
We're
I'm in
just
the womb.
jacuzzi.
But really, like, what I want to say in this last minute is that I'm sure that I am not the only one who feels this way, but the two of you being who you are make many of us feel that we're part of something special. And all I could say is that on behalf of everybody is just don't stop. Please, because all of these creators, the two of you and everybody, the more light you bring into this world, the better it's going to be, especially with what we're creating right now.
Thank you, Betty. Thanks for
You
all the
don't
smushing.
stop by there.
No, I'll try not to. That's why I have the candy. So, all right, thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.